we were on the talking about how one can recruit the good Bubble developer. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So when we were hiring for Bubble developers, we were looking for a very specific Bubble developer, right? One that was full stack and that could immediately add value to our team of professional developers from day one, right? During this process, we came across a lot of intermediate Bubble developers, folks that had built an app or two. They knew their way around the platform. They could build in the front end, they could build in the back end, but they didn't really, build an application that had like hundreds or thousands of users, right? And so they didn't know how to manage a live production application for that reason, right? And we were looking for that experience and much more. And so there were certain things that we would just kind of check off the list. And the first thing would be like, all right, well, what is your UI UX experience? Show us some of the examples of apps that you've built and the designs, and how does that look? And is that mobile friendly? Does that go down to, each size? Is that nice and responsive, right? All right. And then the next thing we'd look at is, all right, well, how is your page loading? Like, how fast is that, like, right? And so how are you setting up your front end calls? And is that set up for speed and efficiency, right? That also relates to your database. And if your page is loading quick and all your data is loading quick, normally you have a pretty good database design, right? And so we'll look at the database design, talk about, why they built the database that way, right? And then we'll get into the backend workflows and figure out when, how they're structuring workflows, whether it's in the front end, the back end, when they choose to go onto the back end workflow. And then we'll talk about the nitty gritty details of, how they handle, data types that contain list fields, and when to use a list field, when to not use a list field. And we'll get into real technical details like that for Bubble developers, right? And so that's why I advise to have some kind of consultant with you that knows those details, so you could figure that out. So when you're interviewing these devs, you can make sure that they're at that technical skill level that you're looking for, right? And so there's a lot of different things that you can ask. And I also hope to, through NoCodeAliance, assemble like interview questions, and also have like an expert directory where you can hire experts to join you for your interviews as well, right? To help with this, because again, employers just don't know how to do this yet, right? And so that's part of the professional resources we want to offer to help that, SMB and enterprise market grow in the no-code space.
That's completely great. Like a lot of interesting thing coming on NoCodeAliances.
Yeah, it's very new. It's at the early stages, but it's free to join. It's free to create a portfolio. You can, list yourself as a no-code developer, list your rates. You can list what stack you use, and then you can also list the startups that you've built. And then folks can see, your general portfolio, all the startups or projects you've built, and then, they can contact you and hire you.
Perfect. Yeah. So can you tell me how hiring a Bubble developer is sort of completely different from the traditional hiring?
Yeah. Well, it is completely different. And, normally like it's similar in the sense that like when you're hiring a software developer, hiring a React developer is different than hiring a .NET developer, right? And so each platform or each language has its own specialty and its own way to do things and its own way to leverage the power of that platform, right? And so that's again why you kind of need to know what platform you're starting with in the beginning, right? But with Bubble developers, it's really about figuring out if they know how to build live applications with hundreds of users, maintaining those and scaling those at an enterprise level that's quick, safe, and secure, right? That's the biggest thing with Bubble developers, because there's so many MVPs out there that they don't have real users yet, or just a few users. And, they were hacked together in a couple of weeks, but they haven't really been tested in terms of scale and sustainability, and if they can, continue to succeed. And so you need to find the Bubble developers that give you the best chance at scaling and sustaining your tech solution in a successful way, because we don't want to build tech that's just going to crumble, right? And any tech can crumble if it's built the wrong way. But with Bubble, if you build it the right way, it will be very powerful, just like other languages as well.
Okay, now coming back to hiring a Bubble developer. So there is a one way of for a sort of if you know what exactly you need to build, then it is pretty clear. For example, in your case, it is an enterprise level. You want to be app safe and secure, and someone handled like a lot of user, not just made a template.
Scalability.
Scalability is pretty important. So, for example, this is first case. Second case is, for example, someone is building out their MVP, or like not looking for the enterprise, like any nearby in a 1 year, 2 year. but they just want to have a quick SaaS app. So
Yeah.
what are the qualities they should look into the developer and how their path of hiring is, and their
Yeah, I would argue that you still want to look for the same qualities, because you don't want to hire someone to build you an MVP SaaS app that is built the wrong way from the beginning. And that once you get 100, 200, 500 users, it starts to crumble, right? And so I think it's still really important that that you hire developers that know how to build applications that can handle a lot of users, because otherwise there's a ton of people out there that can build an MVP for you. And that could get it to work from a service level, right? But as soon as you start to have 50 to 100 to 200 users, you start to see success, it starts to break down on you, right? And so that's the importance of, finding a good developer from the beginning that knows how to build, long-term sustainability apps, right? And so, so I'd argue that you still need that even at that MVP level, but at that MVP level, say you don't have as much money, right? But you're still looking to get this to market as quick as possible. Then what I would look for is, a no-code developer that has built a similar project in the past that they can show you that has couple hundred users that, is performing well. I think that's a good indicator that this person could also do the job for you.
That's perfectly awesome. Okay, so we have talked about the yes and what are the quality you should look for. Now we should talk about what quality is a strict no. Like whenever you see these sort of quality into a Bubble developer, and this is quite a no, straightforward no. Like what these qualities are, irrespective of you are hiring for MVP, you are hiring for enterprise.
Yeah, there's some things that like immediately for me, like I'm more of a front end Bubble developer too, but so like when I look at a page, I'll just initially check all the page loads, right? And I'll just go through the application. How quick is the loading, right? That can tell you a lot from the beginning. Like, is this loading like you would expect a normal app to load, right? So, and anyone can review that. If so, that passes the eyeball test. Great. Then you start to bring it down to mobile. How does this look on all of your screen sizes, right? If you can go from desktop to tablet to mobile and it looks great, then chances are you have a pretty good developer on your hands, all right? Because they already understand that, right? So if it's quickly loaded and it's fully responsive, then you want to start working through just actually using the application in the sense of like signing up and creating things. And how is that performing? Is it a good user experience? Is it still quick? Are you still able to do what you need to do, right? And does it make sense for the user? And so those are the initial things that you want to look for, and or not. Like if those things don't, like your page doesn't load fast, if it's just desktop and it just completely crumbles at mobile, if you go to do something in the app and there's error codes and there's bugging out, those are red flags that you just don't want to hire that person, right?
Right. Perfect. So let me just rephrase my question. So since Bubble is a new technology and there is not much Bubble developers out there, but that great or like if any Bubble developer sort of so is like finding solution over the internet, finding different forums, reaching out to different people. How can you identify that skill out of any Bubble developer? Because I just feel like this is sort of a mandatory right now. Like you can, if somebody have that skill, he can easily learn the new Bubble performance thing and every other aspect of the Bubble.
I'm trying to clarify this. So you're asking, how do you find a Bubble developers, and then how do you find more Bubble developers?
No. So let me rephrase it. How you find a Bubble developer that shows the grit or like that attitude? Okay, I will find the solution at any.
I will find a solution. Okay, no matter what.
Yeah. So how can you find that particular Bubble developer? I just feel like because this sort of a skill is a must, because there's not very like a Bubble developer out there, and they are growing. But right now, if you need to hire, you have to compromise, and if you don't have so much good budget, but that is pretty important.
Yeah, so to clarify, it's like, how do you find a Bubble developer that can just problem solve, right? And just if they don't know it, they could figure it out, right? Which is an incredibly important skill, especially since Bubble is so new and it's growing and it's changing all the time, right? And so what I would say is you should first look towards their portfolio and to see what type of challenges they've already made, like challenging features, right? Like, is that a feature that is very, vanilla or standard in the sense of everyone does this feature, so or is this like a feature that you've never seen before, right? And if so, they probably had to figure out how to do all of that, right? They had to just go out and like problem solve all of that to make it happen. So you could see that they have some good problem solving skills because they're creating features, they're creating certain aspects of applications that not other people have done. And so they've kind of had to pave the road in that aspect, right? And so I think that's a good indicator of, problem solving, and, what they're able to do and figure out on their own. I also think that like, if they're able to just learn a lot of different languages like JSON, JavaScript, CSS, anything like that, like if they have that general background and they're able to quickly pick that up, that also is a good indicator that they're able to quickly get through any kind of solutions or problems that you might face in Bubble, because also having that extension of being able to add JavaScript or CSS or HTML into Bubble helps you get out of those problems as well. And also the ability to quickly learn those languages just shows that you're a good, quick learner and that you're able to accomplish anything else. Like, should you need to get into the API connections or do a new API connection or build a plugin for a certain thing, right? So all of those things you want to look at of, all right, they know Bubble really well, but then do they know how to build plugins? How well do they work with integrating APIs? And then do they know any kind of additional languages on top of that? All of those are indicators that how prepared is this person to kind of handle anything that's thrown at them. And if they were to know all of that, they could probably handle everything. And if they were to know only Bubble, then they'd probably be pretty limited in that sense, because there are a lot of things that you might need to build with API connection, a plugin builder, or just add HTML or JavaScript to your app to perform in a certain way. And so if they don't know any of that, Bubble is very powerful natively and they can still do a lot, but they might not have the full problem solving skill that you're looking for. How to build in Bubble. There's a lot of resources now available too, which is really great. I would definitely check out all of Gregory John's work. He created Build Camp. They have fantastic tutorials and they just teach you best practices from the very beginning. Bubble also has a lot of built-in resources of like how to build articles and getting started and jumpstart articles. Of course, you can join boot camps and I could teach you through it, whether at the beginner, intermediate, and professional level. Boot camps are probably the best way to learn as quick as possible and to learn the right way from the beginning. But I myself didn't, have the money or the time to do something like that. And so I just self-taught myself with Udemy courses, tutorials online, videos, and just building, right? Like the biggest thing is you just need to be building. And the forum is such a great resource. And so if you are able to spend time building, investigating how to learn and build new things, and if you're good at Googling how to do certain things, checking the forum, checking YouTube for videos, you'll be able to get there and persevere through it. The first 3 months, it's quite hard. It's a bigger learning curve. Try to find a mentor or like a peer group that you can learn along with. You can ask questions to. That was really big for me. I've had mentors at every stage of my journey, helping me through certain things, difficult things, guiding me into certain directions, right? So definitely find a peer group to learn with. Find a mentor if you can. Get involved in the community, check the forum, and just immerse yourself into Bubble, and the learning curve is going to come much quicker. And then all of a sudden you're going to get to that stage where, holy smokes, you can build anything. And it's a super empowering stage. And then you can start to build your first app, your second app. And with each app, it just gets better and better and better until you're all of a sudden you're like, I could really build some cool stuff really well. Right. And that's the greatest feeling. Like, just being able to do that. And, I work full time, I coach at night, and I have 2 apps on the side that I build. And that would all never be possible without Bubble, because Bubble's speed for development makes it possible where I can, on nights and weekends, put together whole startups and tech solutions on Bubble. Whereas if I was doing a full stack language, I could never have enough time to build all these platforms from scratch. You know what I mean? Because it just takes so long. But with Bubble, it's possible. So there's a ton of things that are amazing about Bubble. I'm a big Bubble supporter. With that being said, there's a great no-code ecosystem. Find the tool that's right for you. Maybe Bubble's not the best in every situation, so find what's best for you in your business application. And remember that we're building these apps to solve problems for our users, right? And always remember that this is a problem solving thing for our users, and whatever tool can help us solve our users' problems the most will lead to our business success, more money, more success in your business in that way. So keep
Yeah.
that as your North Star.
Yeah, I'm completely agree with you. Completely agree. Okay, so what's your view on the recent bubble pricing thing? I'm not commenting on like the pricing they come up. We all know like that is not a good from, but that lot of people mention the trust thing. Like
Yeah.
lot of people are sort of like they come one on a single day and they just announce, okay, this is they want to do from now, and from the next week or so this pricing going to affect. And because as far as I am just following a bubble from last 1 year, more than 1 year, bubble never do such like
Yeah.
bubble keeps posting on their monthly what they are focus on, but they just pricing thing they immediately just launch it
Yeah.
without even indicating, even giving a clue for anything. So
Yeah.
what's your take on this?
Yeah. It was highly controversial because of kind of how they did it, right? They're a community first company, and this is seemingly the first time that they launched something without a community response. And in this case, their direction was way off. And I think that it was an indicator that they fell out of line with their community, which they've acknowledged and they're working towards fixing, which is really great, right?
Yeah, kudos to
Um,
you.
so first there was a mistake. We all make mistakes. It's a growing company. They're trying to do a lot, and so they made a mistake. They acknowledged it. They're working on it. They're trying to get it better. And so what do I think for pricing? I think that Bubble needs to be, simply put, as attractive as backend solutions like Backendless or Zeno. They need to offer pricing that is just as competitive, if not more competitive, than those enterprise backend platforms. Even though they're not side-by-side comparisons, like Bubble is a full stack builder, it's way more powerful with something like this. But in order to keep Bubble devs, professional devs in the Bubble ecosystem, they need to offer a competitive advantage to make it so that why would you go over there? It's going to cost you more money, and maybe it's not going to give you as performant as staying in Bubble, right? And so Bubble needs to give every reason for us to stay and keep our entire stack within Bubble. And the second that they offer higher prices than Backendless or Zane or anything like that, Bubble turns into a front end builder because we all go there for our back end,
Yeah,
and then it bubbles to the front end builder. And then they just lost the ecosystem to full stack scalability. And now their monthly subscriptions are much lower because we're only using it as a front end builder, right? So they need to be competitive and advantageous in an enterprise market for all the other enterprise database tools in order to keep devs from the consumer to the professional level using their entire stack, which is a fantastic stack for their entire application.
exactly. And also I just feel like bubble have a competitive advantage because they are a full stack. Like
Yeah.
if anything goes out, even the front end or back end, then anyone can replace it.
Yeah.
Lot of other company have a good front end compared to bubble. Lot of other
Yeah.
company have good back end compared to the bubble. But
Yeah.
since bubble provide you a complete solution, one stop solution, and there is no limitation. Like you can
Yeah.
do like, I don't know why people feel like limitation, but I never feel like limitation with the bubble. Like you can do anything. You can, and at the end, if you are not able to do, just write a code. That's it.
Yeah.
Just write
Yeah.
the JavaScript, Node, HTML, CSS, whatever the code you want,
Yeah.
just quote it. So that feel I just like okay. So and Bubble is
Yeah.
now reaching out and they just admit their mistake. Now Bubble is reaching out to all the influencer and all the people uh, and asking their feedback. So they must have reached out
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Spoke to them yesterday. And I'm heavily integrated into a lot of their team. I speak to like maybe even 5 of their employees each day. So I've been given a lot of feedback. We've been working together. They're very kind people. The path is good, right? And we need to trust in them. It's just taking time. It's a hard thing. They're going through a lot. They're at 60 people. They want to be at 150 people by the end of the year. So they're doubling the size of their company within the same year. There's company culture. And at the same time, like their user base is rapidly growing. And so any kind of technology debt that they may have had is being compounded because there's so many people joining the platform now, which is making their general thing slower, which means that they got to focus on general infrastructure before they can really push ahead. So they have a lot of things going on. And the next 6 to 12 months are going to be pretty important for Bubble for sure. But you just got to understand the potential that they have for the platform, great leaders, and they'll get there.
Thanks for JJ, and thanks for doing it. And it is quite commendable in depth. You have given me a lot of insight about how one should hire the Bubble developer. Thanks for doing that. One quick question, and you can choose to not to answer completely.
Sure.
And I am being a greedy here. What's the Bubble like thinking? Are they focusing on enterprises customer? Are they focusing on the SAS people, or like what their strategy? And because I'm just asking you because you reach out to a lot of Bubble, you in contact with a lot of Bubble team. So what their focus is?
Well, I think they're going to tell us really soon with their pricing strategy. They've already hinted to us that with the Flexbox release that it's more professional facing because they chose a CSS Flexbox system that's harder to learn, but more professional once you master it, rather than their old drag and drop, which was much easier to learn anyway to it. So they already signaled to us with that they are leaning towards more professional enterprise. But this pricing thing is really going to tell us, do they expect us to stay on their stack at a professional enterprise standpoint, or are they expecting this to be a consumer platform that can get the MVP, and then as soon as you're ready to go enterprise professional, then you need to find your own database structure and your own database and all that kind of stuff and use Bubble as a front end because their pricing just isn't scalable. So we're going to learn a lot in these next couple of weeks of where Bubble's going in the direction. I certainly hope that it is an enterprise focused platform and that they continue to build towards that in the coming years. It's going to take a while, but that reliability, that scalability, that performance, I hope they continue to lean on that for all customers, but of course for the professional enterprise customers, because why build a business on a technology that you're just going to have to go away from, right? You need to make sure that the end goal is possible and feasible and really powerful. And if it's not, then why even start at the beginning? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for doing this, JJ. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you for having me on. All right. Have a good one. See ya.